Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, the creator and host of the award-winning podcast that you're listening to right now. Thank you so much, called Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. It is a daily podcast, 365 days a year, and each day we talk to an author about all of the things related to their career, their book, their life, and more in 30 minutes or less, because who has time? I am now an author myself, although I wasn't when I started this podcast, and you can get my new memoir, Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature, wherever books are sold starting July 1st, and my children's book, Princess Charming. You can learn more about me at zibbyowens.com, but really you're here to learn more about the authors, and that is what we're going to do. Also, be sure to check out all the other podcasts in the Zcast Podcast Network. You can learn more at zcastnetwork.com and definitely check out those shows as well. Alice Faye Duncan is the author of Opal and What It Means to Be Free, the true story of the grandmother of Juneteenth. She is a national board-certified teacher who writes for young learners. Memory is her motivation. She writes to help children remember important moments from African American history. Her books are celebrated for vivid imagery and lyrical texts that sound like music. Alice's most popular titles include A Song for Gwendolyn Brooks, Just Like a Mama, Honey Baby, Sugar Child, and Memphis Martin and the Mountaintop, which received a 2019 Coretta Scott King Honor Medal. Alice lives in Memphis, Tennessee, where at a young age her mother nurtured her writing talent with prayer, poetry books, and praise. Welcome, Alice. Thank you so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books to discuss Opal and What It Means to Be Free.
Thank you for the invitation.
It's my pleasure. What a beautiful book. I mean, first of all, the illustrations you must be so thrilled with. They're just amazing. Your illustrator is Katura Bobo. Is that right? How I said that? Beautiful. But honestly, the story, well, why don't you tell listeners first what it's about, and then I'll go off about all the things I loved about it.
Okay, sounds great. Well, Opal and What It Means to Be Free is the story of Miss Opal Lee, who is called the grandmother of Juneteenth. The reason that they call her the grandmother of Juneteenth is because in 2016, she started a commemorative walk across the nation, encouraging national politicians, congressmen, and senators to vote for Juneteenth to be a national holiday. Now, people would say, well, what is Juneteenth? Juneteenth is that day 2 years and 19 days after the Emancipation Proclamation that the enslaved discovered in Texas that the emancipation had been signed and that they were free. So it is considered, figuratively, the last day of the institution of American enslavement.
Wow. But Opal Lee's story herself, it doesn't all end with the happy day. So why don't you talk about how you chose to depict the tragedy, honestly, that came next with all of with her house burning down and all of that. Keep going with the story.
Well, I do believe that life, that we have these predestined moments in life that shape us, and they determine the whole trajectory of what we will achieve. Mm-hmm. And so what happens to Opal Lee is she's living in Fort Worth, Texas. When she's 12 years old in 1939, her family moves to a new neighborhood where they are the first Black family in the neighborhood. And they are terrorized by segregationists. They burn their home. A mob comes, burn their home. They vandalize the things in the home. And so her mom and dad move the family away, okay? But the irony of it is that this tragedy happens on Juneteenth Day, 1939. And so it is what happens to Opal Lee when she is a child. You would think she would become filled with anger and hatred because of what was unequivocally done to her and her family. But that experience leaves something else with Opal Lee. It's the thing that makes her, when she grows up, become so committed to justice and so committed to racial reconciliation. And so, the embers burn, but in her heart, they don't burn with rage. They burn with a commitment to galvanize us all under the banner of unity, love, justice and hope.
I love that. You had a line that something about it shine. Hold on, let me find it so I don't misquote you because it was so beautiful. You said, I learned a big lesson that Juneteenth day. Freedom is a golden coin. Struggle makes it shine.
Yes.
I love that.
My father would say, my father was a survivor of the Vietnam War, and my father would say, where there is no cross, there is no crown. And that's what that phrase means. It means that in order to achieve anything, liberty, your dream, your hope, the career of your choice, little children have to learn that without the struggle, there is no achievement, right? Without the rain, there are no flowers, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say next. Good and bad work together like the sun and rain.
Yes.
This whole page with that quote could be like on someone's wall. That's beautiful.
Well,
it's a good reminder, right? It's really important, all of these messages. I mean, that's an understatement. Extremely important, but have applications in so many different ways for all of the resilience and the perspective, right? The perspective and even the gift of her story to Opal's storytelling itself, wanting to share the story and the message and not let people forget, and how to motivate people, right? How to see the positive in the most horrific situation ever.
Exactly. And something else that is very important when we think of Opal Lee, or when we think of anybody who is doing heroic things in their feeble humanity, because we are all feeble humans, but we're capable of doing really heroic things. And the thing that's important is that when you want your children to live bravely, and when you want your children to be courageous, then it's necessary that we show them models of people living and alive who are doing courageous things and who are doing brave things. And so I think to have Opal Lee be 96 and still living in the world with us, and this Juneteenth, little children can read about her life, but then they can also turn on the television and see her, engaging little children around the nation in her walk, engaging dignitaries, engaging her neighbors, because in her neighborhood, she is a civic worker. She provides food for those who are hungry. She provides clothing for those without clothes. She helps folks to find shelter. She is a real civic worker. She is not someone who has done this for fame and claim, but she did it because in her heart of hearts, since the late 70s, early 80s, she has believed that Juneteenth is one holiday that can unite us under the banner of liberty and unity.
Amazing. She's amazing. And so is the book. And this is not your first book, nor your last. You already have another one coming out very soon. Yes. Wait, tell me about the next one that's coming out.
You saw me. Did you see me? I was like, I want to talk about it.
Talk about it.
Okay, so my very next book is called Yellow Dog Blues, which is a blues fable that is set in the Mississippi Delta. It's a story about a little boy whose yellow dog, his hound dog, runs away. And ultimately, the theme is love, loss, and learning how to live despite it all, and appreciate the joy of what you did have, even though it is now gone.
Wow,
it's wonderful. It's so wonderful. I pray that you'll have me back so we can talk about it. And the illustrator is Chris Rosca, who is a 2-time Caldecott Award winner, but he does a lot of books about musicians. He's done a book on Charlie Parker, the Thelonious Monk. But the reason why the book also relates to Opal Lee is that in 2016, I had written the manuscript for Yellow Dog Blues. And traditionally in publishing, they pair Black writers with Black illustrators and white writers with white illustrators. And so 2016, a lot of stuff was happening. And I was wanting to manufacture my own hope. I was wanting to manufacture my own sunshine. And so I said, well, what can I do what can I do under the banner of racial reconciliation? And so I had this story. We know that blues music is American music. We know that we all love blues music. We know that sun and rain shines in all of our lives or comes to all of us. And so I thought, you know what I can do? Opposed to going the traditional way of a Black writer working with a Black illustrator, under the banner of racial reconciliation, I'm going to seek a white illustrator to work with me so that I will be conscientious about what I'm doing in the creation of this book. And Chris Rosca loves music. He loved the blues. And immediately when I sent it to him and I gave him the proposal of the idea, he was like, I'm busy. He's like, I'm busy, but I will make time for this because I do think it's important. And so we've created something beautiful. And like Opal Lee had Juneteenth as her vision to do something under the banner of unity, to do something to bring Americans together in this already divisive world. And so that was my tribute, to do something under the banner of racial reconciliation, something that says, hey, I want to be intentional about me connecting with others who do not perhaps come from my African-American culture.
Wow, that's amazing. By the way, do not think I've ever heard anyone so excited about their next project ever.
I was like, oh yeah, let's talk about it.
I know. I was like, this has to be the best book I've ever read.
And if you give me an opportunity, I will send you like some galley copies of the book, so that you can see what I'm talking about. Because what he's done is, in the Mississippi Delta, cotton was king, right? And so burlap sacks were everything because that's how they baled the cotton. And so what Chris does in Yellow Dog Blues is he renders the art with paint and embroidery. He tried burlap on his storyboard, but that was too heavy. So what he did was he instead replaced the burlap with linen. And when you photograph it, it still has that burlap look to it. So the embroidery, the paint, the burlap, all of that coming together. You're talking about the Mississippi Delta, which is an agriculture environment. And then you're talking about blues, the hard labor of sharecroppers, the memories and the legacies of the enslaved. You're talking about what we all know: love, loss, abandonment, and learning how to be okay with that. And the really bold thing is, it's a story where it is an ending of resolve, but it is not the ending that the kid was hoping for. And isn't that life sometimes?
Yes. Wow. Well, that's very exciting. I'm really excited that you're so excited because, why not?
It's like you got a new baby, right? So you got a new baby, you want everybody to get geeked about it, right?
I was just interviewing someone the other day and she had won a massive prize for one of her books. And I was like, do you ever get sick of just talking about that book all the time? And she's like, yes.
Well, I don't know.
No, she wants to talk about the next thing. Anyway.
The next thing. Yeah. And that I understand. But, like your children, all of them are lovely and all of them are important.
Yes, of course. Of course. I read your whole history of how you wanted to be a librarian and you got a scholarship. And for a while you were doing that. And then by happenstance, you got into public school education and then you went private, or was it reversed? Anyway, and then...
No. This is my 29th year teaching public school, and it is also my last year. So next year I will be a full-time writer.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, I can see
it's been a long time.
You are like the best teacher. I wish I had you as a teacher. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
What grade are you teaching? I know
I'm a high school librarian.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm gonna miss my students, but also I'm looking forward to being creative, because here's the thing. I started out wanting to be a writer first, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes art doesn't pay, or sometimes it takes your art life and the coins coming from art, it takes it some time to really develop and move beyond fledgling to prosperous, I guess. And so I became a librarian, and a school librarian specifically. And the process of that has been so edifying because in doing so, I know the curriculum and I see the gaps in the curriculum. So now, after 29 years of seeing the gaps in the curriculum and only being able to address them on the weekends and on holidays and in the summer when I have long swaths of time to write, now I call it Providence, God, sweet baby Jesus has allowed me this opportunity to now just really luxuriate in thinking about writing and seeing how I can now edify kids in another way where I've been distributing the books and disseminating the books. Now I can really look back and see how I can write the books, for kiddos like that.
As a librarian for all this time, are there books that time and time again kids go to that we might be surprised to hear about, or that you recommend that are sort of underrated? Or
Honey, I Love by Eloise Greenfield, which is a collection of poems that she did, like almost over 30 years ago. And so this book is just very small and compact, but it has two favorite poems of mine in it. One of them is Things, which is about the power of writing, how poems never die. Like a variety of gifts will come and fade, but a poem lasts forever. So that's one of my favorite poems. And then the other poem in here is Harriet Tubman. And a lot of the kids, because I still do school. When I was working, I was still able to do a variety of school visits in my district, like for open house and family reading night and stuff like that. And so another one that I share from this book is called Harriet Tubman. And a lot of the little kids in elementary school, they call it by the first line, which is Harriet Tubman didn't take no stuff. And so I love those poems because Harriet Tubman is someone who was tenacious, she was determined, and she lived by faith. She walked going to a land, I guess like Abraham, that she knew not of, but she kept on walking, right? And Things, because it's about writing and about how poems can be permanent, eternal, everlasting. I believe that also.
Amazing. Thank you for the recommendation. I'm going to get that now. What advice would you have for aspiring authors?
I would encourage them to read poetry every day, and whatever religious practice that they practice, whatever religion that they come from, that religion has a book, right? And most of all of those religious books are written in a poetic language that is alive and living, and it touches us in a very organic way. So I would advise read poetry every day. If you practice a religion, read your religious texts because that poetry is organic and alive. And what happens is you gain this facility or this ability with the words, but you also begin to hear, you begin to hear with your own ear, and you just begin to develop your own voice. I also would recommend reading Gwendolyn Brooks, reading Langston Hughes, reading Paul Laurence Dunbar, Eloise Greenfield, reading Mary Oliver. I'm naming you some of my favorites. Mary Oliver, James Whitcomb Riley, honey child. I love him. Paul Laurence Dunbar and James Whitcomb Riley. In fact, of course I love Gwendolyn Brooks because I have a book about Gwendolyn Brooks, but James Whitcomb Riley and Paul Laurence Dunbar, I like because they use the vernacular of the house, of the home. And that's what I also would tell writers. It's okay to use your mother's language, that your mother's language, the Queen's language, it's okay because that's organic for you. That is authentic to you. And the things that you're going to talk about are going to be universal because you are having a human experience. So I don't care what culture you're coming from, you're having a human experience and your language is good. It's very, very good. And what you write from the heart will reach the heart. And I'm saying that because my mother was a school teacher, and I used to, because Paul Laurence Dunbar was somebody I read when I was young, my mother would wake me up in the morning saying, Elias, bless the Lord. Don't you know the day is brought? If you don't get up, you scamp, there'll be trouble in this camp. Now, my mama was getting me up every morning with that. And then when she would find, because I'm an only child, when she would find my little poems around the house, I was writing in an African-American vernacular. It's what I heard often in the home when we were being casual with each other. It's the poetry that I was reading. But to my mother's chagrin, Alice Faye, can we say that differently? And I grew up and I said, no, we cannot.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. I feel like you need to do more, like everyone, you should do like YouTube videos, or you should like get out on the world.
I've been busy working. So I've been busy working. Maybe next year. And hopefully you will promise you'll invite me back for September, where maybe we can read from Yellow Dog Blues.
Maybe we should do like a live event or something, like Instagram. You read to people.
Let's do it. Because here's the thing. Opal Lee said, if she did not speak about Juneteenth, perhaps no one else would. Mm-hmm. So she took it as her one-woman campaign across the nation. And we now have Juneteenth as a holiday. So I have that same approach about blues music because I live in Memphis, and Memphis is considered the front door of the Mississippi Delta. And so I believe that if I don't share blues music with young children, they won't have an appreciation for this music, which is original American music. I don't want them to wait to go to college and have to listen to college radio to gain an appreciation for what is very American, very old, and very therapeutic for the human soul, right? And so I was like, how can I introduce kids to the blues? And I was like, okay, I'll write a story about a dog, you know?
Amazing. Yeah. Alice Faye, it was so lovely to get to know you today. Thank you so much. And this will be running on Juneteenth. So you will help with education, awareness, making a difference, all that good stuff.
Thank you so very much, and have a super day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.